Hi, this is Angela with the Leadership Coach Group, and it is my pleasure to be meeting with one of our coaches, John Weng. John, I am looking forward to learning more about your coaching style today.
Thanks, Angela.
So tell me a little bit about how you would describe your coaching style when you're working with clients.
Yeah. So, I would describe my coaching style as a combination of emergent and holistic. So with most coaching sessions, I like to let the clients go where they want to go. They come to me with some sort of a goal, where they want to be, what they're trying to resolve. And I bring the whole person. So I bring their experiences, things that they've gone through, and try to use that to make sense of how can they get from their point A to their point B, and how can they get to where they want to go.
And what led you into coaching?
So I've been coaching for 5 years professionally as sort of what I do professionally. But I realized and found coaching 5 years ago and realized that I'd actually been coaching professionally my entire career, and I just didn't have the words for it at the time. I was a leader in higher education, and I managed a team, so I got promoted really young. I was managing a team starting at 23 and started managing a vertical of 150 people by the age of 25. And my style was always just a little bit different, and people couldn't put their finger on it. And then I discovered coaching a few years later. And when I found coaching, I realized that my management style, the way that I worked with people, was all about helping them get to where they want to be, rather than me telling them how to do things. And so I found coaching that kind of magically through grad school, and fell in love with it. Realized I could be doing this with more people and have really broad impact around the world. And that's sort of what brought me to coaching.
Great story. I like it.
Thank you.
And as far as the higher education, tell me a little bit more about that. So you were promoted quickly into management, but you were at college level. Is that correct?
I worked at a university. Yeah,
Okay.
I worked at a university. So I managed programs and services, and it was a really wide array of things. It ranged from traditional higher ed, the things that you think of like student activities, student programs, to portfolio management. My vertical included things like sustainability programs. It included things like basic needs and food relief programs, housing relief programs. All of that sort of floated up through my portfolio. I was the catch-all. I was the catch-all, and essentially, if it was student fee funded, somehow it reported up to me. And so really broad array of things, never same days, ton of fun, and a lot of different people, because I had people who had backgrounds in higher ed, and they had a master's in higher ed, and that's sort of what they did, and they worked with me through a higher ed lens. And I had people who are now working in local city government. I have people who had a background in secondary education. I had people who had backgrounds in nonprofits that joined the team. So really, really kind of broad array of staff that I was working with.
And I know that we had talked earlier, you are located in California. Have you always lived in California?
I've been sort of all over and all in San Diego, or all in Southern California at the same time. It's a bit strange. So I was raised in LA, lived in LA through the 3rd grade, and moved back to Taiwan. So I had this experience of moving back to Taiwan, not speaking the language at all. And Chinese is not an easy language to learn for anyone who's ever tried to learn it. So at, I don't know what that was, maybe 10 or 11 years old, had to figure out a new language, lived in Taiwan for 4 years, then came back to Southern California in LA. LA was where I spent most of my childhood, came down to San Diego, and have been here for over a decade, and love it in San Diego.
Awesome. And other than coaching, what are you passionate about?
Coaching is one part of what I do professionally. I love helping people be their best selves, and I think that's even the tagline in my LinkedIn bio. And so coaching is one way that I do it, but I do a lot of facilitation as well. I do team development, organizational development work through facilitation. I'm certified in sort of a weird chunk of assessments. Most of the common assessments out there are things that I've had experience or certification with. And so I bring that into the work, and I love helping people learn more about themselves, to be more self-aware and figure out how is it that I want to be in my everyday life. And so facilitation, teaching. I recently completed my doctorate, and so I'm starting to teach in the business school. I teach in leadership programs at the undergraduate and graduate level to, help prepare the next generation of leaders in the workforce. And then outside of all of that, in the free time, one of the fun things about doing what we do is we get to travel a lot, and I love to travel. I think there's just so much out there to experience, and my number one way of learning a new city or learning a new culture, even if it's within the US and it's like another state or something, is through food. And so when you say, what are you passionate about? That was the first thing that was like screaming in the back of my head. I was going to say, food is what I'm passionate about. And I'm glad that I get to try these things through travel while I'm doing the work that I love to do.
I love it. So you're a foodie and you enjoy trying all of those new experiences and variety. As far as the assessments, I can tell that's something that you really enjoy and that you do several of. So tell me about your top 3 that you use the most.
Ooh, that is a good question. So right off the bat, the number one thing that people are asking for right now is strengths. So Gallup's Clifton Strengths Assessment is really, really big right now. It's sort of this exciting thing. How do I use the things that I'm good at, the ways that I naturally think, feel, or behave, and use that in the workplace or use that in my everyday life? The second one is a little bit more dated, but it still has a lot of traction, is the Myers-Briggs.
Okay.
The Myers-Briggs is, something that, because we know the language, it's comfortable, people are asking for and using. And the last one is a bit of a toss-up in terms of popularity. The one that I'm using, maybe not the one that I love the most, is probably the Workplace Big Five, which is another personality assessment. It's a 5-factor model, but it uses workplace language, which I really love in the assessment. And so there's not these like weird psychological terms. You read it and you know exactly how it's going to apply to your workday. Yeah.
I thought I was familiar with all of the types of assessments out there, and I had not heard of that one. So I'm going to be looking that up and ordering something to learn about that now.
Yeah. It's a fun one. It's a real fun one.
Well, thank you for sharing all of that. And one last question. If you could describe your ideal client for me.
Yeah, really good question. I think my ideal client is someone who's willing to do the work. And what I mean by that is you sign up for coaching, and sometimes people think that coaches are like wizards and I can wave my wand and everything gets better. And the reality is, I tell people this all the time, coaching just sometimes really happens in between the sessions. We talk, there's new awareness, they make sense of how to apply it, and then it's time to go out and apply that awareness. And so I think my ideal client is someone who's willing to A, go deep and figure out what's really going on here, and then B, how do I take that awareness and then actually do something with that between the sessions. And so when I think of my ideal client, it's like a little combination of both, I think.
Well, it has been a pleasure getting to know more about you today. And I know that our clients will feel the same way. So thank you for sharing about yourself.
Thank you for your time, Angela.